Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Minh and I'm your host, one of your three hosts today, Donna and Debbie and myself. And we're from NDIS Property Australia here in Brisbane, and you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. Today is an amazing topic. Sit down, strap your belt on. We'll go for a roller coaster here, okay? Because this podcast is going to go for 45 minutes and it'll answer all the questions that you are all asking in your mind. But where's the data? Where's the supply? How does this work? What are the resources? Who do I go to? All the tools and resources out there that is available, we're going to compact it all today in one big session. Debbie, over to you.
Yes, Minh. Hi. We are going to tell you about the Housing Hub, GoNest, the NDIS's SDA Finder, the Demand Map, the SDA Demand Map, about using the NDIS quarterly statistics, how to use the SDA income calculator. We're going to tell you how to talk to SIL providers, how to talk to SDA providers, talk about going to expos around the country, other resources that include the Summer Foundation resources, the Urban Developer Virtual Summit, and other tools and resources as well that we know about that we will tell you what they're about.
So, Housing Hub, Donna, what's your experience of Housing Hub? So, Donna, here's a question. You do a lot of sales brochures for our staff and our clients, and what do you normally do in your process of putting that together, the 1-page, 2-page summary of the information on the side of the brochure showing the data, the demand and whatnot? What do you do there normally?
Well, basically it's just a case of updating for each specific home. There is different requirements, whether they're an HPS home or an IL home. It has different information. So on the brochures, it's looking for from the investor's perspective, it has basic information, number of rooms, of course, number of bathrooms. And I really love to look at that because someone who likes to live independently and fully able, I like the idea that the participants now have their own bathrooms. They have their own extra rooms for entertainment instead of being crammed in one room. So this is in the house. So it shows on the brochures, it shows the supply and demand. We have information there to find out what's required and where they're required. In the brochures, there's also information on, especially from the investor's perspective, as in the returns that they can receive when they do purchase a property. And of course, it has information whether it's suitable for the particular HPS participant or a robust participant. So they're the sort of things that I sort of look at, and I can see that the demand is going from HPS to robust.
But Donna, you sometimes show on the document the number of demand from participants. Where do you go to find the information?
Oh, easy. So, of course I've saved it, but it's the SDA income calculator, which is already set up by NDIS, but it's also, I go to this particular map. So you can find demand map is the particular word that you can Google to bring up information that shows a breakdown. And it's really a good breakdown of where participants are for specific needs.
So you're saying that if an investor wants to know if there's demand in Illawarra and the numbers in Illawarra, they can go to this SDA demand map on the website?
Yeah. So you've got, it's so easy because I prefer to start off with this is the map of Australia, and you click the area around if you're around Sydney, and you can zoom in on it, and it's automatically breaks in the areas, and then you get information there via postcode as well of what groups they're in. So it tells you exactly what's required in those areas.
Does this tell you about the SDA information or the NDIS overview?
I think there's two parts here, Debbie. When I've used the demand map, it shows you everything in that area, right? But then what Donna's using is more specifically the SDA demand map, right, Donna?
Yeah, so you've got the chart, the report, the SDA report, but at the start too, that demand map where you actually see the whole map of Australia and you zoom into where you live or you're interested in, it actually has the breakdown of little tiny, different things that people need. So it's really good actually, the combining of the two.
And I believe it shows the breakdown of participants, and it also shows the providers in those areas too. Just to clarify, there is the SDA demand map, which breaks it down into the SA3 regions, the statistical area 3. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then there is the demand map, which is all NDIS, which can be broken down to postcode level.
Donna, what is SA3 and SA4 mean, please?
SA3 and SA4, it seems that the government, for want of a better word, they've sort of created these areas basically, and it's a breakdown. So SA3 is more specific, and if you just put in your typical area where you live, what the government's decided to do is say, for example, let's pick, I'm right now in Wollongabba, so all the suburbs around it, we've got Analyse, we've got East Brisbane, certain areas, they decide to group that, and then they turn that area into SA4. So if you can't find that your particular suburb is because you're looking at an SA4 grouping as opposed to an SA3 grouping.
And Debbie, can you please explain to us, our listeners, in these SA3 and SA4 spreadsheets, which are only behind you there, it's a lot of information, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is a lot of information. We break down our stats into SA4. Predominantly, it is the larger area. It doesn't go into such detail as we like to provide. But if we have SA3 regions, for example, in New South Wales, we've probably got about 150 different SA3 regions. So we break it down into SA4, which means that we break down the entire state of New South Wales into about 40 different statistical areas.
If you're currently wondering what all this means, just go to the NDIS website, look for the quarterly reports, just search for it, or Google NDIS quarterly reports, and sign up to your name and your email address, and they'll email you every quarter all the latest stats and figures for the NDIS in general, and also the SDA accommodation stuff as well. Now, specifically what Debbie's talking about is, in the breakdown of these spreadsheets, there is a breakdown of, in this area you're talking about, the number of 1-bedroom apartments, 2-bedroom apartments, 3-bedroom villas, 3-bedroom houses, 4-bedroom houses, 5-bedroom group houses, 6, 7, 8, whatever. And then a further breakdown is high physical support, robust, fully accessible, improvability, and whatnot. Okay, even breakdowns on the number of residents in a dwelling in that area. So, if you look at, it's hard to see now, but if you download the document, the spreadsheet, you'll see that every page at the bottom of the spreadsheet, there's like 20 tabs, 30 tabs, and that's a full breakdown of all the subsections of everything you can think of. So, there's a lot of data in here, isn't it, Debbie?
There's a huge amount of data, yeah.
So if anyone's wondering where should I invest in, where do I go to find the data information, it is on this quarterly report that's on the website, which is also emailed every single quarter. Yeah.
It is usually brought out around about 2 months post the end of the quarter. So the June 2022 stats have just come out at the end of August. I think the SDA income calculator, we should discuss that as a fantastic resource to find out how much money you would make potentially from your dwelling.
So Donna, when you do these little one-page summaries, do you get the calculator yourself, or do you ask Matt or myself?
I can do it. We put it in the spreadsheet. So then when it goes on, we just transfer the information onto the brochure. But yeah, so it's a breakdown, and it asks the area that you're living in. It asks the number of participants in the home, and it asks information. There's a breakout room. The calculator actually is really, really good. So it defines, it really breaks it down to all the information, so then comes up with a figure. That's what the information is based on, and the returns is based on.
And if you want to find the calculator, go to Google. Just Google SDA income calculator, and you'll find it straight away as a download document, Excel spreadsheet. The good thing about this calculator is, Donna, you can see breakout room, fire sprinklers.
That's right.
Right. Villa, duplexes, townhouses, that's also one category. And if you're wondering out there, why is it the income for the house, which is a duplex, is actually lower income per participant than a normal house as well. So just because you get $40,000 per participant for a fully accessible person doesn't mean that that's the same amount in a villa or a duplex. It's actually slightly lower by about 15% or so, I think. Yeah. So the calculator is good to play around with as an investor, just to see what the income is for per participant in the SDA house.
I think it's also interesting because once you plug in the location, which in this instance is the SA4 location, so the greater areas. So you might have 6 SA4 areas in Brisbane, for example. So you're looking at South Brisbane. You have the actual income based on the location factor. So, and that can make quite a difference. Sometimes in a city, you might find the location factor can be 1.10 or 1.20. So you're actually getting extra for that. In a outlying suburb that has a lot of demand, a lot of participants and a lot of support, you might find the location factor is low. It might be 0.9 or 0.95. So it really tells you exactly what the income is based on different areas around Australia.
You can see it on the calculator. But if you really want to know all the location factors, there's a document there called the price guide.
There's also in that calculator, one of the tabs does have the location factors listed.
Okay, great. So another tool to use, which is, what's the word, compatible with this calculator, is the price guide. So if you go to Google and search for NDIS price guide, and there's 2 price guides, Debbie, there's 2. One is the SDA price guide, the other one is the overall generic NDIS price guide. So you want to look at the SDA price guide. It's one of the 2, can't miss it. And actually shows you the incomes per participant, per dwelling, per category design. And it'll also show you a spreadsheet of all the location factors. So on the topic of location factor, obviously you get a higher multiple, 1.3, 1.4, if it's remote and regional as compared to metro city.
Some of the very remote areas can be up to as much as 1.4.
No, higher.
Or even higher.
Higher, yeah.
One more thing to note on that SDA calculator is it provides you with the SDA amount that the participant is funded for. It also gives you an additional figure called the MRRC, the maximum reasonable rent contribution, which is
a combination of the 25% of their disability pension, DSP, from Centrelink, the Commonwealth Government's rent assistance of 110 a fortnight, I think, and then another figure.
I think it's just those 2, but that comes to about another $10,000 annually in addition to the actual SDA funding amount. So your income as an investor would be those figures combined.
That will be deducted by the SDA housing provider for each participant in their dwelling there. So the housing provider, just so everyone knows, the housing provider is, I wouldn't say a property manager, but they're a licensed organisation with the NDIS government to manage the bricks and mortar of the dwelling of the SDA home. The SIL provider is the one looking after the care service in the house.
And just for people listening to this, maybe we can clarify again what SIL stands for and what SDA stands for.
Supported independent living for the care workers organisation, and SDA housing meaning the supported specialist disability accommodation provider. So they're the ones who manage the deductions and the payments from the government and their pension to the landlord.
So they do all the compliance with the NDIS as well. Sort of like the property manager, but with a lot more that they need to do.
A question often asked by investors is, can I be the property manager, housing provider? No, you can't. And can I hire a Ray White guy down the road? No, you can't. So you've got to use an SDA housing provider. Yep.
And how does the SIL providers come into play here, in case anyone's wondering? I'm still confused about SIL and SDA.
Well,
what?
I don't know. Today's topic is about tools and research, Debbie. I don't want to take that topic off that focus at the moment.
Is there any reason to know who they are? Is there any reason to maybe talk to them at some stage if you're an investor looking for research?
Yes, we'll cover that in a minute. So let's stick to the tools. We'll talk about the tools first, and we'll move on from there. So GoNest, Housing Hub, SEA Finder. GoNest, have you ladies used it?
I've never heard of it, and I work here.
GoNest is basically, I guess, like a realestate.com.au for SDA housing. So if you're looking for a place to rent, a home, that's where you would go. One of the places that you would go to find a vacancy in an SDA
and
house.
matching with other participants who are there in the house.
So it's a good resource also if you are an investor looking at where people are looking for a house, where houses are being advertised with vacancy. That'll give you an idea, an overview of what's out there.
Debbie, can you click on the tab there with the mouse on the laptop there? What's the website for GoNest on top there?
It's GoNest, GONEST.com.au.
So what do you see on the first page there when you log on?
Search, match, go make your nest. So it's got a search bar right at the top, and then if you scroll down, it's telling you latest properties. Here we've got a 4-bedroom house in Redbank Plains, a grand home in a convenient location on the North Shore in Sydney. Charming home in a pretty North Shore suburb in St Ives, New South Wales. So it gives you, I guess, suggested latest new homes available, and there's that search function. It's got a lot more, but at the end of the day, it's predominantly, a housing finder.
So Donna, why do you think this is a good tool for our investors to use?
I was looking at that as from an investor's perspective, and I would just make a regular thing weekly or whatever, just to see, well, that area keeps coming up, here's an area that I could invest in a new house build.
But it tells you how many are vacant.
Yeah, well,
and available in the area.
It does. Well, that was the opposite. That's true. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, that was the opposite. So exactly, if you have a property, an area in mind, and it's not showing up, it sort of shows that there is no excess vacancies.
And vice versa. If you were to invest in Parramatta, for example, I want to invest in Parramatta. Go there and there's like a ton of houses empty in Parramatta. Well, that's a red flag right there.
Yes, that's correct.
So, Debbie, the next one, the Housing Hub.
Well, Housing Hub is a very similar thing to GoNest.
Housing Hub is a bit more complex website. It has data, information, research. It has webinars. It has so many things. But inside the Housing Hub, by the way, the Housing Hub is part of the Summer Foundation, by the way.
It is?
Yeah, a non-profit organisation. So the Housing Hub has a tenancy matching service, TMS, right? Donna, do you know much about the TMS service?
No, I'm not a real fan of these initials either, And I have a feeling there are other people out there that just can't get over this initialising stuff.
Okay, these acronyms. Tenancy matching service the Housing Hub is a very large organisation which collects data and inquiries and does surveys and research. So they're able to help investors, developers, builders participants, is more the word, to match with pipeline construction product coming out of the ground. Okay, so someone who's a participant in Sydney, for example, could wonder, well, how I want to live in an apartment somewhere in Penrith. Is there anything out there at all? And who do I go to find this? So you can log on to the house. So the website, Debbie, What is it?
housinghub.org.au.
So participants go here to look for matching service of products or dwellings for themselves, and also just to bring awareness to the system that they are looking and searching. So the Housing Hub is a very detailed service out there, and we often use it. A lot of people use it as well, and it's a good tool for you as an investor to learn more about the SDA market, because the Housing Hub and Summer Foundation is all about SDA, isn't it?
Yeah, it is totally about SDA. Oh, and STA and MTA, those and acronyms being specialist disability accommodation, short-term accommodation, and medium-term accommodation. But for most intents and purposes, it is all about SDA for people looking for a long-term home.
Okay, cool. So we've covered GoNest, we've covered Housing Hub, SDA Finder. Can you tell us what that's all about on that?
The SDA Finder, again, is basically the same or similar to Nest and Housing Hub. It is the NDIS's own platform for accommodation finder. So NDIS being the scheme, the National Disability Insurance Scheme run by the National Disability Insurance Agency. So on their massive, vast website, they do have the SDA Finder. You can just Google that and it will come up with, again, a housing finder where people advertise their predominantly the SDA providers or possibly the property owner will advertise what they've got available for rent, and you can find a home there.
Gotcha. Another point here is if you want to know more about providers and whatnot, SIL providers and SDA housing providers, it's best to talk to them on a grassroots level. And what we mean by that is actually going out to meet them, give them a call, looking at their social media, their activities, right? Because they're out there actively working with participants out there. So the best way to meet them is to give them a call, email them, look at the website, or meet them at bumping into them at expos and conferences as well. Debbie, I remember 2 years ago, you and I looked at a large list that you downloaded from the NDIS website. I think it was there. Yeah. It was an Excel spreadsheet with hundreds, or if not thousands, of providers all around Australia, and we were looking at Queensland only at the time. Do you remember that information?
Yes, I certainly do. And that was off the NDIS website, the providers list that you can download. And it broke down the providers into all the different categories that they were registered for to provide care, whether they were accommodation providers, whether they were SIL providers, and all the other different categories.
So if you are an investor who wants to know more, go to the NDIS website and search in the search bar to look for the provider's information spreadsheet. It's a lot of information in there, but you may want to find a provider in Adelaide and go to the Adelaide section, and there they are right there, yeah. And once you get through to one or two of them, just talk to them, asking them for referral to someone who is a housing provider or whatnot, yeah. Donna?
Now, being of the middle-age paranoia thing, there's a lot of people out there that aren't licensed yet, but are sort of realising that there's money to be made. So what I found is the SDA Finder is that standardised purple colour that you see our NDIS logos everywhere. So you know you're on the right track and you're in a safe zone if you're on the platform that is the same colour. So I just find there's a lot out there that are not being honest.
What about other places that you can go for research online?
This is not I don't know.
Okay. Team DSC is the website. They're the Disability Services Consulting. Well, that's how they started off. They provide a lot of training and resources. It is a paid service, but that is NDIS, all NDIS. They do SDA seminars, webinars from time to time. That's a very good resource for very high-end information.
That Team DSC website, what is the website?
It is teamdsc.com.au.
Gotcha. They're very much more about training for support workers and providers, businesses. There's some information in there about SDA, which is relevant to investors, and it's a little bit. But if our listeners go onto this website, teamdsc.com.au, they'll get more exposure to what happens behind the scenes for these provider businesses and how they think and operate. So it's a good exposure. Again, that's $220 a year. Gives you full access to the entire e-library of all their articles and all their webinars and recordings. So that's a good tool there as well.
Similar is the urban developer.
So this is coming up this week in the second week of September here. Are we October now? Where are we?
We're in September. I think this is in October.
Yeah. So it happens every year for 4 or 5 hours once a year. It's 15 specialists or experts in the field of SDA. I encourage you to go to the urbandeveloper.com.au website. Again, you can pay for the recordings for the last 2-3 years as well. In fact, if you're listening to this episode right now, go to the website urbandeveloper.com.au, pay your $140 or $200. Yes, I'm paying $200 to watch it this Thursday. But if you are a person looking at a recording, a past recording, it'll be like $80 or $90 or something like that. Yeah, but that gives you access to a full suite of 5 hours of presentations in one day. To listen to and watch the video of SDA presentations as well. That's a very good tool there.
It is, and they talk about different aspects of SDA. They talk about all the latest statistics, how that is affecting the SDA construction building market, everything that as an investor you should be on top of.
Now, the Summer Foundation, we've mentioned a few times now, they have a lot of reports and research on their website. It will be on the Housing Hub website though, yeah.
No, they're on the Summer Foundation website.
Okay,
they
gotcha.
have a huge amount of resources, a massive library. So, yeah, that is one of the best places I think to go to start learning about SDA and how, from an investor's perspective, how it all works.
They have some great videos too, Debbie. I mean, we've loaded some of their videos on our website to explain what SDA is all about. So if you don't want to read, if you're not a reader, you're more of a listener or a video watcher, then go to their YouTube, Summer Foundation or Housing Hub channels and just watch all the videos there.
Yeah, a lot of them are videos of participants' actual stories, gone from living in a nursing home to being in their own home or whatever their story is. So it's a really great way to understand what the industry is all about and what we're trying to achieve with SDA housing from the perspective of the participant and how life-changing it is.
So Donna, I think you and I have a booked video call with the Housing Hub team, Rachel Murray and Alicia, who's the general manager.
Yeah, so that's next week, if I remember rightly. Yeah, so what they do have is reports. So when you look on the website, there is information, there's data, but they go deep. So
this is a brand new premium service too, by the way. Do you remember the amount of money it costs for the quarterly, half-yearly, annual? I don't remember the numbers.
Yeah, so we've got, there's a $4,000 subscription or an $8,000 subscription or a $10,000 subscription. So you can see there, once you have a look around at all the data that's on their website, there's much more. And if you're the sort of person that likes to go deep, really deep, and you're really looking at creating a portfolio, especially of these properties, this is probably the exact thing that you need.
So 4,000 is the last 3 months. I think it's 6,000. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think 3 or 4 for the quarter, 6 I think for the half year, the last 6 months, and the $10,000 amount is for the annual, the last 12 months. Yeah. So what this is it gives you really detailed information. It's more so for developers and builders, I think. For the mum and dad investor, they may spend $4,000. I think. Yeah. We might do the 6 monthly one ourselves, but we're waiting for that Zoom call next week to talk about what comes as part of this service. And how much we pay and when we pay and all that kind of stuff.
It'll be a breakdown. They're offering breakdown, so we'll do a breakdown of what exactly the sort of things.
So if you're interested to know more about this information, go to the Housing Hub website and then look at this. Look for this premium service. It'll be in there somewhere, or give them a call on the phone number. But what we're also keen to know more about, Donna, is the TMS service, tenancy matching service.
Oh, that'd be great. That would ease so many headaches, take so many headaches away that that they're doing all the work, and of course the cost saving it is. So, but
it's time saving.
it's time saving. Well, I suppose it is at the end of the day, because how much are you worth on your hourly rate, and knowledge.
And also how much, as an investor with a home and you need tenants, how much are you going to lose if you don't have tenants?
Correct. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Now, I bumped into Rachel, the BDM for Housing Hub at the Brisbane Property Expo about 3 weeks ago in Brisbane here. And she told me that the Housing Hub TMS service was changing the way they approach this service. So I think in the past, ladies, they were all about filling up a high rise of apartments to fill them up very easily. They're taking more of a personalised approach to do more individual matching services, more so for the houses, right? So although they are licensed as a provider, they don't do the provider role itself. They really procure the participant or do the research and give it to you, and you work with your own provider. Now, the cost of this is about $12,000 plus GST. So if you're an investor who needs 2 tenants in your 3-bedroom home, the OOA plus 2 participants, it's going to cost you $12,000 plus GST times 2. And they need roughly a year to source those participants. So I don't think if you have an empty house right now, you want a tenant next week, they're going to find it for you that quickly. It may be possible, but definitely think about engaging the TMS service with the Housing Hub earlier in the piece during constructions, because it will take you a year to build your house anyway. Yeah. So Debbie, Donna, do you see this service, which costs $12,500, should it be the primary or the backup plan when an investor goes in looking for participants during construction?
Well, if you already have a housing provider lined up or you're looking at that, you would hope that they would be able to do this job for you. But if you're struggling to find someone you're confident in using as a housing provider to source your tenants, to procure your tenants, then I think it's a really good idea to talk to the Housing Hub about their tenancy matching service. It's a premium service with a premium price, but you're probably going to be not guaranteed. Obviously, nothing's a guarantee, but with their experience already in the tenancy sector of the SDA market, I think that's probably a good option for you.
I don't think that you'll be asked to pay $12,500 up front. There'll be some terms and conditions. I don't know what those terms and conditions are. I don't know what they are, but upon delivery of a participant for the house, that's when you'll pretty much be billed the invoice, I think. But there will be terms and conditions you need to discuss with the Housing Hub anyway.
I also think it's just a learning curve. If you're new into the SDA housing as opposed to standard tenancy, there's a lot of things you don't know. So the education here would just be amazing. And like you said, start early. And I also think too, this would be something that would be tax deductible, is it, Minh? Yeah. So it's well worth it.
Next on the list, Debbie, what is it?
Research reports.
So one of the providers we work with is Everhomes in Brisbane here. And they have a little service called a research report, which costs $400 plus GST. If you are thinking about investing in a certain area, they will send you an invoice, pay the $400. They will then start working on the report to send back to you to show you the pipeline data of construction or enrolled dwellings, the demand, the breakdown of the categories in the area, a nice little breakdown. So all the data we see, Debbie, in those spreadsheets, the quarterly reports, they basically pull that out and make it a nice, glossy, colourful brochure with images and diagrams and stats and figures. And they'll also pull more data out from the NDIS portal, I think, to see who's building what. Remember we were in Melbourne last week? How we were in Luxton Road at that organisation? Yeah. They said that they can actually see with the dwellings under construction, which are already registered, they can see who the provider license is and what's being built on that location. So providers can log into their provider portal to see the pipeline builds and designs in that area as well. So us as consumers, we can't see the information, whereas they can see some visibility there as well. So having access to a provider who can do that for you for $400 is a very small cost. But however, we've come across investors don't want to spend the $400. I think it's a bit silly that you're spending almost $1 million in the property. You want to spend a bit of money for some research reports,
What are some of the other research tools that you could use, such as attending events?
Well, yeah, that's the research we do is really our own research. We actually go to the disability expos in all the cities. We go to the regional expos as well. So we actually fly down to meet. I was down in Canberra last week as well. We go to the SDA conferences, which are run by professionals. And attending these events are developers, builders, architects, designers, providers, investors as well. All right. And if there's an event in your local area, go attend it. It's like $500 to attend it all, Again, it's a small price to pay, but you get to mix and meet and talk to other people who are in the industry for SDA. If you really mean to be part of the SDA as an investor, you should spend the time and money to actually go to these events, because no one's going to teach you everything. If you ring someone up, they don't have time to talk to you about everything. No, you got to self-learn all these aspects here. The best way to see all these events really is, one of the events is the SDAconferences.com website. It's run by a lady called Lynn Gabriel and from Jazz Corp, and she does all these events around Australia for SDA. So,
any other networking events or networking social media contacts?
I think there's a lot of stuff happening on social media and on websites. So be conscious of SDA events and themes and presentations and webinars. Just be conscious of it. And the more you network online and browse and research, which you're doing anyway now, but be more specific with your research. I think that's our advice. Today we've covered almost 40 minutes of ideas here for everyone. And even in the virtual summits, these webinars, there's guest speakers on there. Look at their websites. Look at their profiles on LinkedIn. LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, social media. It's all out there, guys. We're doing our best, Debbie, to be as visible ourselves as a business, to give more support workers and still providers and housing providers to show that we're out there around Australia trying to develop and build and create product for the SDA market for participants which are in need. We're doing our best, and if anyone has any ideas out there, please let Erin from our office know at erin@participants.com.au. But Debbie, can you pretty much summarise all those topics again that we just covered?
Yeah, well, obviously we've got the Housing Finder websites, we've got the demand maps, we've got the quarterly statistics and the other information provided by the NDIS. You've got the webinars, you've got the conferences, the summits all around Australia, virtual and in person. And really, that's how we've learnt over the last couple of years about the SDA world, by attending these, by doing our own research. The Summer Foundation has been an amazing help with all of their vast library of resources. So that's how we've learnt it, and that's how we recommend you also develop an understanding, a deep understanding. Pay a bit of money for those research reports if you really want to get deeply and go into those premium services that we've mentioned.
I think nothing beats talking to people, someone. If you're talking to an agent or to a provider, to a support worker, just talk to them. Understand what they do and how they do it. Ask what they need in their community, in their portfolio of clients. Just talk to someone. We can't disclose any more information other than what we said today about how you go about learning about NDIS and SDA. And there are plenty of websites out there which FAQs and blogs. There's so much out there as well. You know, that's all I have to say. Really, there's just the data's out there, information's out there. Donna,
Talking to people. So the perfect place to go if you're a one-on-one person, you don't like that screen to be in between you and the other person. Go to the disability expos. They're free. And they're all there waiting to talk to you. That's why they're there, so they can give you the time that you require and that you want.
Debbie, we have a special announcement to make on our podcast series.
We do. We are going to be doing a special podcast once a month called SDA Unlocked. And what's it all about, Minh?
About this topic, supply and demand and data. So the last 6 months or so, we've done a lot of topics on SDA and NDIS. That's great. However, our listeners, what they really want to know is, where is the data? Where is the demand? Okay, so we're probably going to launch a new podcast name called SDA Unlocked. We need the permission of Erin, obviously, because she's the one doing all the editing and the publishing. So if she has the time to do it, then we'll definitely launch it pretty quickly. But we want to do once a month, 1 hour podcast on SDA supply and demand and data and research. That's all we do on that topic. And we'll probably bring in a special guest speaker and just talk about the data. Okay. So I hope that this idea is a good idea. I think when we began this idea of a podcast at the end of March, we sort of didn't know what we were doing and sort of just winging it. And we still sort of are winging it right now. But at least we know that there is demand for this information. And that's the reason why we are spending time and money flying around the country to network and learn, okay? And I think people around Australia who we're bumping into, they're really appreciative of what we're doing because we're spending the time and the money to do it. But we don't have to do it, you know? And my biggest advice to you, our listeners, are it's fine and great to talk to someone on the phone, but what are they really if they're selling you an NDIS property? They are a person behind a computer screen, working from home, and they're not going to site to kick the dirt. In the property game, there's a old saying, you know, I love kicking the dirt, which means you're going to site to kick the dirt. You know, do that. Meet people, do business with people who you know are actively doing the right thing and networking with the right people. Okay, because there are a lot of dodgy people out there trying to get involved in SDA, trying to sell the wrong products to the innocent investors in Australia. And unfortunately, you as an investor, you are your own, how do I say this politely? You have an obligation to only yourself to do the right thing, right? If something's going to go wrong, you have yourself to blame. And that's in any investment in life, you know. So do your research, spend the money, put the time in to meet people, greet people, network with people, and learn from everyone out there because no one's going to teach you. This whole thing is self-taught. We've spent 2 years of self-taught ourselves, sorry. And we urge you as our listeners and our investors to do the same thing because at the end of the day,
the onus is on you.
On you. No, you only have yourself to blame here if you do the wrong strategy, the wrong product in the wrong area at the wrong time, okay? We as a business, we have visibility somewhat in pipeline data, construction, builds, because we're always talking to builders and developers ourselves as a business. So we know what's coming out of the ground in certain places. But you as a consumer, you don't see that, right? And sometimes if you ring up a builder, they're not going to tell you anyway because they just don't want to disclose information. So we're here as a resource to help anyone in Australia. We have certainly flown down to Melbourne and Sydney recently to meet people on a whim, okay? We've never charged them any money. We just flew down there and just helped them out. So, our actions speak louder than words, right? We don't talk, we actually do. We do deliver, we're there, we kick the dirt, and we are publicly at all these events all the time, and our reviews speak for itself, Debbie, I think.
They do, right. Well, I think that pretty much covers everything we wanted to talk to you about today.
Donna, any last words of advice to anyone listening?
my biggest thing is the talking. Do the one-on-one. You know, we have technology, that's fantastic, but you get the feeling, you know, when you're talking to a person, you know straight away whether this person's sincere or not. So, you know, like I said, those expos, they're there waiting to talk to you. So that's my biggest advice.
Debbie, any final words for you?
Yes, do your research. And most people want that. When I speak to a lot of our inquiries, people who have just started out, they don't know where to do it. They don't know where to go to get that data. Well, we've just told you what we know. So, yeah, get out there, jump online, as Donna says, go to the expos, go to meet people. It's such a complex world, the SDA investment world. So you need time. Don't rush into it. Take the time.
Take your time, no rush, okay? It will take you many, many months before you may even decide to jump into it, right? Because it's a long-term investment, and once you're in, you're in. There's no backing out halfway through construction. You're locked in, okay? So be mindful of that. If anyone's trying to pressure you into buying something, do not let them pressure you. Do not sign or buy anything if you don't feel comfortable. There's an old saying in life, if you can't sleep at night after investing in something or buying something, don't buy it. Don't do it. Okay? So what you'll never get from us is pressure from us. We don't pressure any of our listeners, our clients to do anything at all. We're here to mentor and teach and consult with. We happily talk to builders and developers to teach them what they should be doing as well. So we really want to help. That's our motto in our business here. So anyway, I think that's it. All good. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.